Hey, welcome to the show. We've covered a bunch of issues over the years, from education to scams to even fights. Now, if you remember last season when we did our outdoor show, we focused in on a bunch of sports fights, street fights, and regular fights in our schools so we can all be safe. But there's one fight in particular that we have not talked about. That is restaurant brawl. Tonight, we're taking you to the Waffle House, where hundreds of videos on YouTube are showing fights in the Waffle House. It's the case of the Waffle House gone wild. Or what I like to call fast food brawl. Think about this. You're sitting there eating, and then all of us, you're sitting there having a great time. And all of a sudden you see someone saying, "Hey, you stole my man. Hey, is that my shirt? Is that my boyfriend?" And then all of a sudden you're going like, "I'm gonna go over to the next part. We should leave. Because I'm not gonna see her no more. I pay my money, this and this." And you're thinking like it's Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer, now take before Waffle House. And then all of a sudden people start fighting and you can hang your chain. Jerry, 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 Jerry. You're about to see clips from YouTube. You're about to see YouTube videos that have been uploaded, viral ones, from Waffle House. So, what's going on? Here's Chief Investigative Correspondent Lisa Guerrero with an Inside Edition investigation into Waffle House gone wild. So let's roll the clip.
Why? Waffle House gone wild. Crazy scenes like this are playing out at Waffle Houses across the USA. Waffle House is one of the nation's largest fast food chains with more than 1,900 locations in 25 states. But the 24-hour chain and its huge yellow signs have become infamous for rowdy late-night crowds and all-out brawls.
It gets pretty vicious in a Waffle House.
Haley Booth, a.k.a. Waffle House Wendy, recently became an overnight sensation when video of this late-night brawl went viral online. That's Haley right there, deflecting a metal chair hurled at her by an angry customer.
All I did was just pick up my arms to stop it from hitting me in the face.
Watch as the customer throws not one, not two, but 3 chairs at Haley, who says working the overnight shift at Waffle House can be dangerous. Why are so many fights breaking out inside the famous restaurant chain? To see for ourselves, we sent a team of producers to 10 Waffle Houses, some of the busiest in the country. At this Waffle House in Atlanta, where 5 teenagers were shot and 2 people were stabbed, there's now an armed deputy standing guard. In fact, every Waffle House we visited had armed security, surveillance cameras, and even a loudspeaker warning customers they're being recorded 24/7.
This is Waffle House Security monitoring and recording all activity at this location with live audio video.
James Shaw Jr. is known as the Waffle House hero. That's Shaw tackling an armed gunman and throwing his assault rifle over the counter at a Waffle House in Nashville.
We hear about a mass shooting, but we never think it's going to be us.
4 customers were killed before Shaw saved the day.
What was going through your mind at that moment that you were actually rushing towards him to grab the gun?
My main goal in that moment was to put the gun down and separate him from the gun.
Former police officer Leonard Sipes says most of these incidents happen late at night because Waffle House is one of the few places open to eat 24 hours a day.
If you have young people congregating under the influence of drugs, under the influence of alcohol, it's a mixture that is bound to create problems.
Waffle House says most people have positive experiences in their restaurant, adding they care about their customers and employees and are continuously working to improve safety at their locations.
And improve safety they can. The next time you go to a Waffle House, you better steer clear and defend yourself. When chairs are being thrown at you, fists are being thrown at your face or in the groin. Oh, down for the cow. You get the picture here. You get the picture here. What we're talking about here. But if you go to a Waffle House 24 hours a day, and if you're working there, my advice is avoid the graveyard shift. That can be very crazy. But work the day shift. That way, you won't be hit and you won't be injured. And if they ask you to work the graveyard shift overnight, just say, I'm sorry, I can't. Just tell them nicely, I'm sorry, I can't because I watched it. I watched this clip along with a Give Me a Break episode about us talking about the late night shift. If you gotta defend yourself with it, if you gotta show this clip, then by all means, I give you all permission to show this clip to your bosses. That way they all can understand. But safety is number one priority. And nothing is worse than when you demand justice for your daughter who took her own life after a video of school bullying surfaced. We'll give you that when we return. Then later, more stupid in America. Stay with us. You're now going to meet a 14-year-old daughter. The 14-year-old daughter. The father of the 14-year-old daughter who was demanding accountability from a school in Ocean County, New Jersey, after his 14-year-old daughter took her life. This comes after a viral video, which is tough to watch. And so the day after that video was posted and she died, the father, the other parents, and the students are all demanding accountability, which was one day after. But the question is, will the school be held accountable will they take accountability or do something else? Before we play this, I have to warn you, this video, the video that you're about to see, is clearly tough to watch. So if you have small kids, now is the time I'm asking you to please ask your child to leave the room. I'm serious right here. You really do not want your kids watching that clip. And it's not going to be fun for you to see it. But we have to be aware of what's going on in our schools and what our kids are doing. Here's Michelle Charlesworth.
This is the school hallway assault posted online, followed by online bullying that this grieving father said caused his 14-year-old daughter to die by suicide. The cell phone video was taken 1 week ago. Adriana died Friday.
They think it's fun to attack people and make videos and post them. Getting hit in the face with a water bottle didn't hurt Adriana. What hurt Adriana was the embarrassment and humiliation. They just kept coming at her.
Michael Cush has not slept, trying to mourn his daughter and get justice for Adriana. The freshman was hit in the face with a full 20-ounce water bottle 3 times. On the video, punched and kicked, her hair pulled at school while classmates laughed and recorded the attack. What is all of this about? He says seemingly nothing but meanness and bullying. He says his daughter deserved none of this and was tormented after the videos were posted online and then when she saw nasty comments.
Adriana was the most happy, beautiful young lady in the world. She loved animals.
According to the father, 4 girls have been charged now with 3rd-degree felony assault after her death. No confirmation from the prosecutor's office. The school superintendent says in a statement, this was a tragedy.
She blacks out, and they don't call an ambulance. They take her to the nurse's office.
There have been protests by students and parents outside the school saying this kind of thing has got to stop and has happened before. He stresses there was no accountability, no consequences for the 4 girls who went after Adriana. Had there been, she may not have felt so terribly alone. If this were taken seriously, he says, police and ambulance called, and the girls punished immediately, perhaps expelled, he's convinced this would have been very different.
My daughter's never been in a fight before. Literally, she's 98 pounds. She's 5'2". And She loves everybody.
In Bayville, New Jersey, Michelle Charlesworth, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
What a brave father in his grief to do all this and fight for his daughter's memory. We want to take a moment tonight to highlight and provide the National Suicide and Crisis Helpline. If you or a loved one needs help, give them a call. It's just 3 numbers, 988. The Lifeline operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I am glad that this father is doing the right thing. I'm glad that protest happened because the school needs to learn to take accountability for what they've done. Now, I take this bullying business very, very seriously. If you've been watching the show, for a long time, you know we talk about bullying a lot of times, a bunch of times, which is one of my main goals throughout the show, is to help kids, is to tell people to stop bullying and speak up. That's why I created the Facebook group called Stop Bullying, Speak Up, to help people understand and to give people tips about bullying, what it is, and how to stop it, and how to teach kids to stand up and say no. Enough is enough. That's why sometimes at the end of the show I say, stop bullying, speak up. Because we gotta teach people that it's not okay to bully, and the bullies need to be prosecuted. So far, the teens have been placed under arrest for what happened. And people think it's cool to just say, hey, you're fat, you're ugly, you're a slut, you're a bitch. You think it's fun and cool to say those things? You're going to hurt their feelings if you do, and they're going to not want to come back anymore because you as a bully, because you bullies out there, you think it's cool to pick on people. It ain't cool to pick on people. Someday, when you watch this episode, you're going to look back and listen to thought and say to yourself, this guy's got a point here. I need to stop. I don't want to set that example for my kids. That's exactly right. Because your kids are going to go do the same thing out there because you thought it'd be cool to go pick on people. Which is not cool. You may think, oh, it's just a joke. You think suicide is a joke? You think jail's a joke? You think detention, suspension is a joke? It's not cool. It's not cool to be doing this. Let's take a break here. Coming up next, more on Stupid in America. Also look at those charter schools. Stay with us. On our last broadcast, we focused in on why schools are making us stupid. The main reason it is basically because of the money they spend from our tax dollars and the test scores and from everything else. But when public schools began in America, most people worked on farms. That's why there's no school in summer, because back in the day, if you didn't go to school, you had to work on farms. They could just stay home and just work on the crops. Once again, John Stossel.
Today, fewer than 2% of us work on farms, and nearly everything in our society has changed dramatically. So why has there been so little change in education? As we've seen, one reason is that unions fight to maintain the status quo. But that status quo often doesn't serve the kids.
Our students are basically just dying in their seats at school. They're not getting the education they deserve, and the union puts up a barrier for that.
These San Diego teachers fought to make their schools charter. Charter means they're still a public school, but they're free of many of the rules set up by school boards and unions.
You got it, Cal. Excellent. Okay.
Now, when a teacher's hired, she knows if she doesn't do a good job, she could be fired.
I'm a good teacher. I don't need tenure to protect my job. I need tenure to be gone to protect my students.
The rule is given for each table.
Since this school dropped the union rules, there's now a waiting list to get in. Many charter schools are succeeding. Friendship Charter High is located in the same dangerous part of Washington, D.C. as Ballou High, one of the city's poorest performing schools. The student populations are similar, mostly poor and minority.
I think he's a good friend.
But But at the charter school, there is order. The kids are on task and doing better. 95% of the graduates get into college.
Is this school better than the public high schools?
Yes. Of course.
Well, why of course?
The charter students recognize that their school is different. The teachers, they say, they're happier to be here.
What does a hyperbola always have to have in it?
This teacher got Rashawn Miller interested in math, a subject she used to hate.
What'd she do differently?
She makes it fun. She makes it fun.
Danielle.
Making it fun could help them keep their jobs. She's here because a third of the previous teachers were fired.
I love teaching here.
The best teachers make extra money.
We can give bonuses. We can have Saturday school with pay. We can do summer school and reward certain teachers.
The kids see the results.
And people here care more?
Yes, definitely.
Good morning. Get the jacket off, phone up.
Friendship's principal knows if the school doesn't perform, he'll be held accountable.
We can be close. We can't settle for just being good enough.
This makes charter schools innovate.
As a teammate, ask for help when we do.
This one keeps kids in school till 5 p.m.
Hello?
And teachers give kids their cell phone numbers.
Hello?
Hello, Miss Fong.
And in the evening, every teacher must be available to answer questions.
I had a question on the review sheet.
Okay. I get phone calls at all hours of the night.
Teachers say the kids call constantly.
Hey, Christelle, what's up?
So many kids want to get into those schools, the schools have to hold lotteries like this one.
358-1051.
The suspense is unbearable.
I pray that they're gonna pick on.
So much is at stake. The winners get a shot at a better future. They spin the drum.
Number 11.
Look at that smile. Look at her smile. Listen to her delighted scream. But why do they have to win a lottery? If school money were attached to the child in the form of a voucher, every parent could take their child to new schools.
Vouchers no! Vouchers no!
But lots of people hate vouchers.
No public money for private schools!
Last week's Florida court ruling against vouchers came after this teacher brought a suit.
To say that competition is going to improve education, it's just not going to work. You know, competition is not for children. It's not for human beings. It's not for public education. It never has been. It never will be.
Why not? Would you keep going back to a restaurant that served you a bad meal? Or a barber that gave you a bad haircut? Competition makes everything better. Why would schools be different? In the few places where vouchers have been allowed, like Milwaukee, the kids who used vouchers did better, and the kids in nearby public schools did better.
They improved by leaps and bounds. No one lost in Milwaukee. Everyone did better. The kids at the regular public schools did better, and the kids who went to the voucher schools did better.
Of course they did. That's what competition does.
Choice to me is the only way, I believe, that we can force the system from an external vantage point to change itself. It will never change itself from within. Public education will never change. All the reform.
These are well-intended people who want to help kids.
All the well-intended designs and programs du jour, unless there is some competition infused in the equation, unless that occurs, then they know they have a captive monopoly that they can continue to dominate.
But if there were competition, if parents had a choice, the possibilities of what we could have are limitless.
There are good points to make. If the money's attached to the kids, everyone has a choice. It's how it works. If it happened here in Texas or Monarchy, if it happened in Monarchy or other states, why couldn't Texas? We have a choice. Parents have a choice. Kids have a choice. Attach the money to your kid, and bam, we have choice. Competition makes everything better. Competition is why would you want to choose between Gatorade or Coke? It's competition that makes everything better. Would you settle with Coca-Cola, Gatorade, or a good cup of orange juice? That's how competition works. If it's proven, then people could say, yeah, it's proven. But if it wasn't proven, what else can we do? Still ahead, more stupid in America. This time, by looking at more of those charter schools, which spend less than the public schools. Stay with us. Welcome back. Tonight we're still asking a question. Are we stupid in America? When it comes to education, maybe. But school spending has tripled since 2010. Look at this line. Since 1974, $43,000. Then it's gone up to the top to $149,000. What do we get? You get fancy schools, more assistant principals. But student learning? No improvement.
More than other countries, but what do we get?
Fancy schools, more assistant principals, student learning? There's no improvement, but look at that. Look at the line here. The green line represents the math scores. The purple represents the science scores and the reading scores by 1%. So since 1970, this line has been flat. The line for science, flat. The reading has been flat. You get a lot more money, but you don't get no improvements. It's awful. It's been going on like this since 1970. For over 40 years, scores have been flat. Much more money, no improvement. But some good news is happening. Some good things are starting to happen. As John Stossel will tell us, there is an answer to everything.
School is boring. Yes, it is. I know. I went to school. Grade school was boring. So was high school. So was Princeton. Except for the party parts. But fourth grade, you have to learn reading and writing. That's work.
Reading is work, but it's rockin' awesome.
Rockin' awesome? And these kids say school is fun?
Yes.
How is it fun to learn?
They just teach us in a fun way.
So you guys look forward to going to school in the morning?
Yes.
These kids attend one of those new charter schools. Free public schools, but their charter lets the school escape the bureaucracy of regular schools, including teachers' union rules. This school enrolls the inner city kids bureaucrats label at risk of failure. But these kids learn.
Devin is 100% on top of her game right now.
Going to our school is a ticket to educational success.
This woman runs several charter schools. All get outstanding test scores.
And you do this all with the same money that public schools get?
We actually do it with less, $4,000 and $6,000 less per child.
How? For less money do they get the kids so interested?
You're interested in math? And
Yes. Reading, writing.
But learning is work. The school day here is longer. Kids often stay till 5 p.m. Charter teachers can be asked to work more than the union would have allowed. They told us they don't mind.
But you're going to burn out. Why aren't you ticked off?
That's not an option for us because we kind of have our eye on the prize with these kids.
They use all sorts of new teaching techniques. Sometimes teachers wear earpieces during class, and then they're coached by their bosses.
What are they telling you?
They're telling me things that I don't see. If I don't think of a great question in the moment, my principal's able to kind of feed that to me through the earpiece.
We kind of view teachers as athletes in the Olympics, and they need constant support and coaching to be at the top of their game.
Kids at this school constantly wave their hands around. It confused me, but then the students explained it's what they call active listening. Instead of interrupting class to blurt out, say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" or "I agree with that," the students make hand gestures.
What's the symbol for agree?
Wow! High test scores made these charters so popular that parents line up, hoping to get their kids admitted.
This line goes on and on. Forever. Goes around the block.
So many applicants, but not that many spaces.
So, What do you do when you have thousands of people and just a few hundred slots? They hold a lottery.
The winners are happy. Sadly, there are many more losers. On the other end of America, in Oakland, California, another charter chain gets similar top results using different methods.
Here's what I say. Give me the worst school in Oakland. Black, Mexican, polka dot. Give us the worst school anywhere in America. And we'll take it and we'll outperform the other schools in 5 years.
Ben Chavis created the model of the American Indian public charter schools, right in the heart of a rough neighborhood.
These are hard workers here.
The kids at American Indian schools now have some of the highest test scores in California.
And you could do that on the same amount the state gives every school?
We get less. We get less than every other school.
The kids in American Indian public charter schools are scoring so far above the average for the state for public school children that there isn't even a word for it.
They use different techniques from the charters in Harlem. Here at American Indian, they pay some kids to tutor other kids.
We hire our students and we pay them. They're excited. They're going to make some money.
Chavis is politically incorrect.
What you going to study? Science. Science? A Mexican in science? Yeah, good for you, hey? You'll be a rare bird.
He's been criticized for imposing strict rules.
You got trouble, didn't you, boy?
They're stricter because they really want us to succeed.
A teacher made this student do push-ups in the hallway because he didn't follow directions.
You actually have to try hard when you're here.
I hate Saturday school.
In other school, we didn't have as much homework. We had like 1 page of homework, but then here we have 6 subjects of homework. And then the teachers were a lot nicer, and here they're a lot meaner.
Meaner, and yet
No student's been expelled since the school began in 2000?
No way. I love fools. I love the kids who get in trouble. Because you can take a kid who's acting like a fool or gets in trouble and use them as an example.
It's cruel, your critics say. We have a 6th grade student acts up in class, he'll be sent to sit on the floor in an 8th grade class.
Yes, that's true. And embarrassment keeps people in line, whether we want to admit it or not.
even gym class is strict.
At my old school, we play games every PE, but here it's either running for 10 minutes or running around the block.
You fire people at your schools.
They should be fired.
You fired a teacher after 1 day?
She was incompetent.
You could tell in 1 day?
Yeah, she's incompetent.
Last year, I thought I was going to get fired a few times. If I'm not doing a good job, it's over. And it could happen at the drop of a dime.
That's not true at most government-run schools, especially union ones. Union teachers are happy that they can't be suddenly fired. But these charter teachers can be.
You can get canned in a moment. Doesn't it bother you?
If I'm not doing my job, per se, and I was fired for that, so be it.
If I was a doctor and I wasn't good, I mean, I wouldn't have a job. No one would come to me, right?
I would hope not.
You cannot maintain quality unless you can fire people, says this charter founder.
It's as many as we must and as little as we can.
Have you fired more than 10?
In 3 schools in 8 years, yes.
But while bad teachers might get fired, good teachers are given freedom.
They can choose their textbooks, their teaching methods, as long as they, every quarter and every year, make sure that the students are learning what they need to learn at the end of the day.
In Harlem, 43% of 8th graders get passing grades in state math tests. 100% of her kids pass. So, if such charters work, why aren't there more of them?
Don't be fooled. Avoid charter schools.
Because unions and supporters of traditional schools hate charters. This protest occurred outside one of Eva Moskowitz's charters.
Eva Moskowitz, let's go.
I hope it's not personal, but it may be.
This union boss doesn't want charters in what he calls his schools.
Over my dead body, they're going to come there.
Does he get to stop them? When we return, I'll confront the unions about that and other strange things union bosses said, like, we shouldn't judge teachers by how well students do on tests.
But how do you know if they're learning anything?
I know my kids are learning when I look in their eyes.
What? When we return, that statement and the teachers' unions. That when we return. Stay with us. those charter schools that we showed you, I just wish there were just more of those because competition makes everything better. Like Coca-Cola and Gatorade. But if we didn't have teachers' unions, we'd try that voucher thing. We attach money to the kids and they would choose to go to any school they want. But this was updating back in 2006 or 8. After this aired, well, take a look.
The Teachers Union, 5 million members strong. This group is mad at me.
We are here to demand an apology from 2020's John Stossel.
I had done another show called Stupid in America that said it was impossible to fire bad teachers. The union boss said, because of my program.
Educators all over the country feel that they have been kicked in the teeth.
They were surprised when I came outside to hear them. The union said I should be educated.
So just teach for a week. We got high schoolers, we got elementary school.
The crowd liked the idea of me teaching for a week.
Teach, God, teach. Teach, God, teach.
I think I surprised them again when I said, okay, I'll teach. But then they changed their mind. Union President Randy Weingarten won't talk to me anymore, but 2 other union bosses did. Joe Del Grasso, head of Newark's Teachers Union, and Nathan Saunders of Washington, D.C.'s.
City schools are terrible because of unions like yours.
Well, I would disagree. We have progress as a result of unions.
3 days before, Saunders led this protest march to complain about plans to pay teachers based on how well their students do on tests. The protesters even composed an anti-test song. I think I know why the union doesn't like testing.
Your results are awful. They're among the lowest in the nation.
You make an argument that it's the lowest in the nation based upon the test scores. Now, I would say that ours can get better, but I would say that ours are...
Your predecessors, the unions, have been saying that for years.
I think the unions have a pretty strong history of advocating for high-quality public education.
But not achieving it.
Our test scores are not what we choose to focus on. We choose to focus on teaching kids.
But how do you know if they're learning anything if you don't test them and compare?
I know my kids are learning when I look in their eyes.
The protesters had celebrity support. Actor Matt Damon. He was asked by a woman from Reason TV about the rules that make it hard to fire union teachers.
In acting, there isn't job security, right? Why isn't it like that for teachers?
You think job insecurity is what makes me work hard?
Well, you have an incentive to work harder, but if there's job security...
It's not an incentive, that's the thing. So you take this MBA style thinking, right?
MBA style. Business school ideas. Well, yes. Charter schools, vouchers, even Obama's race to the top are based on the idea that competition's good. If kids are free to take their school money to any school, competition among schools, including for-profit chains, will force all the schools to get better or go out of business. The best schools will expand. But the unions don't like that market competition.
There's a profit motive behind all of this extra testing.
We need to get the corporations out of the schools.
The union says school choice would enrich corporations, but further impoverish poor teachers.
Business types of living scrapping suddenly concerned over greedy teachers and our riches that they earn.
Teachers paid enough?
No.
But you got some teachers making over $100,000 a year.
And they aren't making enough.
Matt Damon agrees with that. His mom's a union teacher.
A teacher wants to teach. I mean, why else would you take a salary and really long hours?
Teachers make a salary? Well, maybe to Matt Damon. But today, American teachers make more per hour than accountants, nurses, architects.
I can guarantee you this. It's not about the money.
Kevin Chavis is a former D.C. politician.
When I was chairman of the Education Committee on the D.C. Council, I gave the school system $300 million new dollars. Teachers got more money than ever to educate 10,000 fewer kids, and the test scores went down. Now, what they did do, they grew central office. They had more deputies to the assistant, to the deputy, to the assistant. they grew the bureaucracy.
And the former district chancellor, Michelle Reed, found that the bigger bureaucracy didn't even get school supplies to the kids.
Walking into schools and seeing that there were no books in the library, kids didn't have supplies and pencils, and then the following week I visited the warehouse of the school district where there were boxes and boxes of books and scissors and glue and
So why didn't they get to the school?
Exactly. That was the question. That
Why didn't they get to the school?
it was just a complete and utter sense of dysfunction and the lack of accountability.
It's a reason they call the school bureaucracy the blob. It's like this blobby Jabba the Hutt thing that can't be budged. The blob is the teachers' union, janitors' unions, the politicians, the school board bureaucrats. And if you try to make it change, the blob says,
we don't do that here. We have to requisition downtown. We got to get 4 or 5 people to sign off. The deputy director of curriculum has to say this is okay. It's crazy.
Both union leaders escaped that bureaucracy.
You went to private school.
That's correct. It kind of made me feel that I had better do pretty good in that school or else.
That's the phrase, or else. When we come back, the question, why does it cost $250,000 to fire just one union teacher? What's wrong? Stay with us. Why does it cost $250,000 to fire just one union teacher? What's wrong with that? Look back at the Dance of the Lemons.
The people who are making the rules already have choice. You know, the politicians, and I used to be a politician, the politicians have choice.
Yet all these politicians who sent their kids to private school oppose school choice for regular people.
Thank you for taking my question, President Obama. I wanted to know whether or not you think that Malia and Sasha would get the same high-quality, rigorous education in a D.C. public school.
If I wanted to find a great public school for Malia and Sasha to be in, we could probably maneuver to do it.
But apparently, he didn't want to. The president now sends Sasha and Malia to Sidwell Friends. It's the same school the vice president's grandkids attend. Tuition, $32,000 a year. And the union leaders?
You went to private school.
That's correct. I graduated at Catholic high school.
Joe Del Grasso is head of Newark's teachers union. He's a tough negotiator. At this school board meeting, when the chairman said he'd used up his speaking time, Del Grasso marched up to the front to demand more, saying, "My union contract mandates 7 more minutes than I got." The rigidity of this stupid union contract is why the kids suffer. Your union is the problem.
I think you know better than that.
Del Grasso opposes letting kids escape his rules by, say, allowing them to attend charter schools in existing school buildings.
Over my dead body, they're going to come there. Now, I'm going to be there and physically try and stop them. There's certain things that don't mix. Oil and water, you can't emulsify them.
There's no room? There aren't these half-empty schools?
There's not half-empty schools.
Del Grasso says charters favor rich kids. But Newark public schools spend almost $400,000 per classroom. The charters get less.
Not that much less.
But they get less. It's hardly the rich versus the poor.
I'm happy for them. We don't want
Then
them.
let them into your schools.
We don't want them in our schools. Why should they?
You're not happy for them then.
Well, listen, does Fox and CNN, are they in the same building? I don't think so.
But Fox and CNN can't banish the competition. Competition's good. Competition is why we have Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. When you have a choice of what channel you're going to watch or what school you attend, competition makes things better. Del Grasso understands that about his own education.
My mother paid for me to go to it, and it kind of made me feel that I had better do pretty good in that school or else.
Well, it sounds like you're arguing against the unionized public schools.
I'm not arguing against them.
Most of the independent schools are still Catholic schools doing a great job for less than half the money you spend.
No, I wouldn't say that.
$17,000 versus $5,000.
John, tell them to have another bingo game and get it over with.
Catholic schools fire bad teachers, but government-run schools really can't because teachers get tenure. Why have tenure?
Most professions don't have tenure.
When you went into organized crime, you got to be a made person. There was like a ceremony, but nothing getting tenure, which is a nice thing.
And it's kind of like organized crime. You're in forever unless you die or are killed.
Well, there's that perspective of it. You're a good teacher. There shouldn't be a problem with it.
Well, here's one problem. Not every teacher is good. Some are really lousy.
It's impossible to fire these tenured
Well,
teachers.
why?
Because there are a million steps.
No, there aren't. There's only one.
It's not one step. It's all these steps.
That's it.
This is the list of steps required to fire a teacher in my town. This is why most principals don't even try. They look at the list of appeals, like this one, and just give up. Or they push the worst teachers to transfer to another school. That's such a common way to avoid these rules. There's even a name for it. The dance of the lemon. It would be funny, except these rules leave some kids stuck with terrible teachers.
This is crazy.
This former police investigator says it takes years to fire even an abusive teacher.
Lots of people said he hit kids. The kids said it.
Lots of people said he hit it, and other teachers said it that were present in the classroom. Took me 4 years, $283,000, $127,000 in legal fees, plus what it costs to have a substitute fill in him, all while he's sitting home having popcorn.
Still being paid by the state.
Still being paid by his district.
He couldn't even fire the teacher who faked his doctorate. And
he went to sleep in class.
And he was quite disturbed when the supervisor came in and woke him up.
He complained.
It never ends. It never ends.
But this firing does not end. When we return, you're going to meet this woman. This woman fired hundreds of teachers in the Washington, D.C. area. You're going to meet that person, hear her side of the story. Stay with us. Well, we're now out of time, but we're continuing this on Friday. Coming up on Throwback Thursday, it's the Super Bowl edition of Throwback Thursday. A look at some of the Super Bowl stories we talked about, from Super Bowl some hotels to the ever viral video. Hey Jimmy Kimmel, I unplugged the TV during the Super Bowl. That's on Throwback Thursday. So here's a preview of Friday.
Fired your own daughter's principal.
That was a chilly night at home.
It was. You'll hear her side of the story. And soon on and coming up next week on the broadcast, you're going to hear from Pete Rose, who bet on baseball. You'll hear his side of the story and why sports betting is illegal in every state. That's next week. That's Give Me a Break for this Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow for Throwback Thursday on the GMB YouTube channel for the Super Bowl edition. And we'll also see you for Give Me a Break Friday. For all of us here at YouTube and Give Me a Break. Have a good night.